Hey everybody, how you doing today again? Paul Waller here. I'm president of Christian Sports Medicine Alliance. I want to thank you again for joining us for another episode 22 of Medicine with a Mission, Faith, Family, and the Profession. Again, we are highlighting a Christian athletic trainer the entire month of March, so we got one every single day. Hope you've enjoyed the other ones that we have. When this one drops, this will be I don't remember what day this will be, but this is episode 22 and all. So today we have a very special guest again. All of them are special, but this one's even more special because I've known her since she was in college, and now she's a professional and a colleague of mine. Jessi Galindo, how you doing, Jessi?
I'm good. Thanks, Paul. How are you?
Doing well. Thank you for joining us on this. So Jessi, we haven't talked in a while, but where are you? Where are you at now? What your setting? How did you get to this point? How did you get back to where you are? Because I mean, it's kind of a cool story. I think how you got back to where you are,
Right.
and kind of that journey from when I first met you at Higher Pain way back when.
Yeah, it seems like forever ago. So I was a student athletic trainer in high school at Del Rio High School under Brad Dixon and Alan Davis at the time. And so graduated high school 2011, went to Howard Payne, majored in athletic training, um, graduated from there 2016. And then following graduation, I accepted a position with Del Rio High School, my hometown, um, working with my temporary license. I had not yet sat for my state exam or the national exam, and so I was hired with the understanding that I would need to um, fulfill that certification while employed. Um, Plot twist, being completely transparent, I did not pass my exam the first time. And so after my first year at Del Rio, I had to resign. Couldn't work without my license. So resigned from Del Rio, got a job teaching at a charter school. um, I'm not the best at math, but for some reason, this principal had faith in me to be able to teach chemistry. So I taught sophomore chemistry, freshman biology. Um, Halfway through the year, I was really struggling, and I said, Miss Rodriguez, I can't do chemistry. I'm not strong enough in it. And so finished the year just teaching biology. Um, while working for Heritage, I kept studying. I was going to the high school every day, working with Brad, and he was kind of mentoring me and coaching me through, and helping me study and everything. And so, while I was at Heritage, um, I went to go take my test again, um, and I passed. And so, while working there, I got my license, finished the year there, and started looking for jobs. Um, I didn't know really where I wanted to go. I thought I knew. Um, I thought I wanted to be in Austin area. Applied to a couple of positions there. Things just didn't fall into place for me. Applied to several schools down in the valley. Um, and I was offered and accepted a position with Brownsville Rivetta High School. Um, so moved from Del Rio to as far south of Texas as you can get without leaving Texas. So I was 6.5 hours away from home. Um, Worked my first year there, and starting out, things were great the first 6 weeks or so. And then kind of things kind of took a turn from there. And um, the gentleman that was my boss um, made things very difficult for me.
Mhm.
I was very uncomfortable. I wasn't happy, at all. I got really involved in my church down in Brownsville, River Church, RGB. Um, and they were kind of what carried me through that year. Um, Being so far from home, um, I wasn't I was rarely given the opportunity to come home. I was rarely given time off. Of course, as athletic trainers, we don't get time off to begin with, but being a first year, professional and being so far from home, I didn't even spend Thanksgiving with my family. So I was working on Thanksgiving Day, which I know is not uncommon. Um, so saw my parents. They came down to Brownsville more than I came home. I probably went home maybe 3 times. That's 18-19 school year. So I was probably 6 weeks in and I was already looking for another job. Um, I didn't agree with a lot of things. I wasn't happy. But my church family, the friends and relationships that I built there is what kept me sane, without a doubt. And so shout out to Pastor Randy and everyone at River Church RGV for helping me through that. So then fast forward to closer to the end of the school year. At this point, I'm packing up my apartment. I'm looking for an out. I want to leave Brownsville. It didn't matter if I stayed in the valley. It didn't matter where I went. I wanted out. And so I began really praying about it, praying and fasting, and my parents did also, and everyone at church had been praying for me and everything. And so God just really worked through that. I had a couple of interviews down still within the valley. I had a tentative offer, but I was still back and forth because I didn't really know if I wanted to stay. I didn't know if I wanted to gamble again and end up in a similar position as I was already in. I didn't know if I wanted to go through that another year. And so it was a God thing, because the position that I'm in now, in Del Rio at Del Rio Middle School, this position came open. And Brad called me, hey, I know you're unhappy. We have a position open. If you want it, it's yours. Basically, in a nutshell. And so, I was back and forth. I don't know. I don't want to work with middle school. I don't know that I have the patience for that age group. I got a paper cut. It is the end of the world.
Yeah.
And so I was back and forth about it. I was praying about it, and I was talking to my parents about it. Like, do I want to go home knowing what I'm going into, knowing that I'm going to have a support system, knowing the coaches that I'm going to be working with, knowing what type of environment I'm going to be in? Or do I want to gamble and take another chance at going somewhere else, not knowing anybody, being so far from home, and risking, my passion. And so, things fell into place. And, I called Brad and I said, you know what, I'm coming home. I accept that position. And so, started the process from there. Started packing my apartment. My last week of work with BISD, I was hanging out with some friends one weekend. One of my best friends, her dad is a shrimper. They're on the island in South Padre. And so he brings home shrimp regularly. And Alex was like, hey, come over. We're going to make shrimp cocktail, hang out, whatever. So we went over, hung out. We weren't drinking. We weren't, nothing, just casually hanging out. And so some other friends of mine invited me to go out. And I was like, I'm just going to go home. I don't feel good. My stomach, it feels weird. Went home, went to bed, and it was maybe 11:30. I wake up at 2 a.m. with the worst stomach ache of my life. I had chills, I had cold sweats, I had fever, I was nauseous, I was vomiting, and I was like, oh my goodness, like, what is going on? And so I have a sensitive stomach to begin with. And so I thought it was just, nothing out of the ordinary. So I couldn't fight this stomach ache. And so my thought was, there's a Stripes across the street. I can go grab a Sprite, and some Tums, and I'll be good. Or I can go to the walk-in clinic and they'll give me something for sure that will fix me, I'll pay the bill later. And so I say it's a God thing because in the back of my mind, I was thinking, I need to go and just get this over with. And so drove to the stat clinic. Come to find out, my appendix was about to rupture. So had emergency appendectomy, called my parents at like 5 a.m. Hey, I'm at the stat clinic. I had a really upset stomach. I'll let you know what happens. Called them an hour later. They're transporting me to the hospital for emergency surgery. So my parents packed what they could find, booked it down to Brownsville. I was out of surgery before they got down there. And so just kind of to give you an idea of the kind of environment that I was in, I called my boss that Sunday afternoon after I was kind of a little bit more alert. And I was like, hey, this is what just happened. I just had my appendix taken out. I'm going to be out of work this last week. And so with the district, they had given us 10 days to like our 10 days that we can take throughout the year.
Mhm.
At that point, I was out of days. I had used all of my days because I was just, here and there. Like I don't want to go to work.
Yeah.
I don't want to be there. And so I would
Sure.
call in here and there. And so called him to let him know, that I was going to be out the last week. And if they were going to dock me, dock my pay, so be it. I can't do anything about it. And his response was, all right, Jess, well, you couldn't have scheduled this for a different time or a different date. And I'm like, really? Like
Yeah.
it's not something that you schedule, but so it was a whirlwind from there, huge roller
Sure.
coaster. And um, so fast forward to Spats. We are at Spats, South Padre Athletic Trainers Seminar, I believe is what it's called.
Symposium.
Symposium.
Symposium. Yeah.
Brad and Jasmine come down to Spats, and it's kind of a reunion, so to speak, with Brad and I. And it was just such a good feeling. I was just felt this peace, come over me, and this calming that like knowing what I was leaving to, what I
Mhm.
was leaving from and what I was going into. Um, and so moved back home. Um, no, okay, so Spats, before Spats, it was probably 2 weeks or so. It was before my appendectomy. I was on my way to meet a friend for happy hour. On the way there, I wrecked my car. So wrecked my car. 2 weeks later, have emergency appendectomy, and then have spats. And it was like one thing after another, and it was almost like I felt like God was testing me, and kind of pushing me to show me what I could handle,
Mhm.
and putting me in these situations to where I had no choice but to rely on him. And so, um, like I said, my church family and friends and parents, and those are the people and the things that kept me sane through it. And I truly believe that um, God set me up with River Church, um, to get me through that year. And so even to this day, I'm still really good friends with people that I met there. I still, two of my best friends, Madeline and Alex, we have a group text, and we text, constantly almost. And so I'm very thankful for those relationships that were built there. Um, so fast forward to where I am now. This is my second year at Del Rio. I am the only athletic trainer at Del Rio Middle School. Um, COVID kind of kicked our butts. And so on my campus at the middle school, we do not have athletics. So I go to work. I cover duty here and there. I cover some lunches. I sub when I'm needed. Mainly for coaches. When the coaches are out, I'll take over their classes. But then after school, during football season, I helped cover football. Brad told me this year. He calls me G. He goes, G, you're taking over football this year, and I'm like, what? So um, he was like, it's my name on paper, but you're going to be the one doing everything. And so kind of threw me into the deep end there, and was coaching me through, and and guiding me and mentoring me on how things worked, and guiding me through our biggest sport. And so that was a lot of fun. That was an experience in itself. So football season ended, and now I'm kind of just filling in here and there wherever is needed. And if games overlap or practices go into the weekend or whatever, I'm covering there. We also do COVID antigen testing, and so I represent our athletic training staff in doing that. And so myself and Brad and Kayla, once they get done with their regular COVID screening, they come jump in and help if they're needed and stuff. And so that's kind of where we're at now.
So it's kind of, the thing is, it's a very cool story of how you go from one, your high school athletic trainer is now is not only your mentor, but still your mentor and your boss. You
Right.
go to college. You and I meet through a mutual friend of ours that she actually served on our volunteer staff with CSMA, and you went on 2 mission trips for us to Malaysia, back-to-back summers, and then you come home and you graduate. You go through the trials of not being able to pass your licensure, and then you pass your licensure the second time around. You get your job. It's not the job that we think it should be or should have been, and then you find you're at the point I'm looking from the outside looking in, that you're in a place now to where you're in a great place.
Right.
Your support system is there, and obviously people that know you, know your family, know your background, know that, I mean, God and Jesus are the center of y'all's life, or your family. I mean, it's all about him. So before we go, what is that? I mean, knowing all of this and seeing all of this and seeing all the faithfulness that God has had in your life, before we let you go on this, what would you say over this point in time has been that verse or those verses that you could say has been the foundation of your life?
I'm going to read it to you so I don't.
Yes, fine.
I'm too emotional, and
Yeah, I understand.
everything. And so just one that's always stuck with me, and my dad is the one that introduced this verse to me. Isaiah 41:10. So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. And that verse is just something that I always, hold on to. Going through everything, not passing my exam, not getting licensed, moving to Brownsville, that turning out to not be what I was hoping for, and going back and forth between, do I stay, do I go home, and all of this fear and anxiety that I was having it was not of God. God does not give us a spirit or a feeling of fear. And so really clinging to that verse where he's saying, don't fear, don't be afraid, I'm there, regardless of what you think or how you feel, I am there. And I will bring you out of this. And it really hits home for me, with relationship aspects, and and my past relationships, and where I would date around here and there, and it wasn't healthy, and so taking the position back home, I met Christian.
Mhm.
We were dating, and it ironically, his name is Christian.
Mhm.
um, I take the position back home, meet him a couple of weeks later. We're dating for almost 2 years. We just got engaged this past weekend, and all of this was because of God.
Yeah.
He says, "Do not fear. I am with you." And that's kind of what I had to hold on to,
Yeah.
and seeing it now, and going through this interview with you is really making me reflect and think on the last 4 years of my life, and how God continues to bless us and continues to show up, and just how everything is falling into place because of him, because
Yeah.
of his hand and his sovereignty and his grace. And so um, that's
Yeah, he has been very, very faithful to you and very faithful to your family, to bringing you all through this whole situation, again, through all the not necessarily calling them trials or tests. I wouldn't, but the challenges of living out your faith, even in setbacks. I mean,
right.
you had some setbacks. I mean,
Uh,
and knowing that, that verse is so significant to your life, and knowing that he's promised this. I mean, that's a promise. He's giving you that promise in that verse. I mean, do not fear, I am with you,
right,
period.
right.
Period.
No questions asked.
It doesn't say but, it says I am with you.
Right.
So yeah, that's just a very comforting, very solid, um, I just, just a very solid verse that is a promise that
Right.
he's not going to keep. He's always going to keep.
Definitely.
So, well, Jessi, I thank you very much, as always, to be on this with us and join us for National Athletic Training Month,
Yeah. Thanks for
and
having me.
letting us highlight you and talk about your past, present, and future. Your future is down the road. Do we have a date yet? Do we know?
Not yet. Not yet.
Not
We're
yet.
we're throwing around some ideas and getting things, sorted, but don't have a date yet.
I'll tell Christian how we said hello. Tell your mom and dad, especially, I said hello, and everything. But thanks again for joining us. And if you are interested in learning more about Christian Sports Medicine Alliance, please go to our website at christiansportsmed.org. You can also follow us on Twitter at tweetcsma. And if you are a Christian athletic trainer and you need a place, or want a place, or desire a place, or looking for a place to go and do life, share your thoughts, your beliefs, your prayer requests, your favorite scripture verse, whatever God is doing in your life, maybe, and you're on Facebook, go to Beyond the ATR and join our page there. We have over 2,000 people that are on that page and chiming in on a daily basis. So again, this is another episode of Medicine with a Mission, Faith, Family, and the Profession. I want to thank you all for joining us, and I hope you have a great day. Thank you. Bye.